Welcome to another new episode of the Get Organised with Decluttr Me podcast with myself, Shelina. I hope you're well wherever you are in the world. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been following along for a while, I'm absolutely delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. It truly means so much to me. Your support allows me to continue sharing my love for decluttering and organising each week, and it's a privilege to help you create a more organised and clutter-free space. If you're enjoying this podcast, I'd love for you to spread the word. Just hit follow, subscribe, or like on your podcast app. Share it with your friends or drop a review to let me know what you think. Today we're getting into a topic that might initially seem like a source of stress, but I'm here to flip the script on it. We're talking about the idea of running out of stuff. Yes, that dreaded moment when you realise there's no more toothpaste left, or toilet roll, or you've just poured the last bit of milk in your coffee. Now, if you're someone who hates the idea of running out of anything, you're not alone. But today I want to challenge that feeling and see if we can reframe it. You see, running out doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. In fact, it might just be one of the best things that can happen to your home and your mental space. Let me explain. So we've all been there, standing in front of a cupboard or drawer that's so full of stuff that's impossible to find out what we're actually looking for. Maybe you've got too many bottles of shampoo, or your pantry's bursting at the seams even, with cans and boxes you bought because they were on sale. While having a stockpile of items might seem like a smart move, it often creates more clutter than we realise. In my experience as a professional organiser, one of the easiest ways to declutter is to simply use what you have. It sounds obvious, right? But so often we keep on buying something even though we don't need it. Why do we do this? Because retailers have trained us to, like since the 70s and 80s. They're excellent at convincing us that we always need more. More food, more clothes, more gadgets, more cleaning products. But what if we could break free from that cycle? What if instead of feeling the need to constantly restock, we allowed ourselves to run out? So let's talk about that feeling of running out. What does it do to you? Does it send you into a bit of a panic? Or does it give you a sense of relief? For a lot of people, there's that knee-jerk reaction when they realize they're running out of something. I need to replace this immediately. But I'd like to challenge that thought process. What if running out was actually a gift in disguise? When you run out of something, it creates space. Literally physical space in your home. One less item in your shelf or in your cupboard. It also creates mental space. You no longer have to keep track of that item, find a place for it, manage it. It's one less thing in your mental inventory. And in a world where we're already overwhelmed with so much to keep track of, every bit of space helps. Here's another thing to consider. When you run out of something, you often realize that you don't need it as much as you thought you did. I see this all the time when I help my clients declutter their homes. They might have 5 bottles of laundry detergent because they were buying in bulk. But when we talk about how much they actually use, they realize those extra bottles are just taking up valuable space. They most probably use 1 every 3 months, so the 5 are going to last for a year and a half. Take a moment and think about your home. Do you have an overflowing pantry, bathroom, cabinet, wardrobe? So many cupboards. How many of those items are duplicates? Things that you bought because you thought you might run out. Now imagine what it will feel like if you allowed yourself to use up those items instead of constantly restocking. That space you could be freeing up for something more important, or just having free space. And here's a little secret. Sometimes when you run out of something, you realize that you don't actually need to replace it. Maybe there's another product that does the job just as well, or maybe you find that you don't miss it at all. This happens to me all the time. I'll finish a cleaning product. Instead of buying a new one, I'll experiment with what I have already. It turns out we can often make do with far less than we think. So let's talk about the psychology behind this for a moment. There's a fear in many of us that running out means we're unprepared. Society has conditioned us to believe that having more means we're in control, but actually it's the opposite. The more stuff you have, the harder it is to manage. Think about your wardrobe. If you have a lot of clothes, is it easier or harder to get dressed in the morning? Most people would say harder because there are too many options. The same goes for household items. If you've got 10 jars of pasta sauce, it becomes difficult to keep track of which one is going to expire first, or even where you've stored the latest jar. Having more isn't always better. It's actually just more to think about, more to organize, and more to maintain. And the stress of running out is often an illusion created by our need to feel prepared for any scenario. So how can we break free from this cycle of fear and overstocking? I've got a few tips for you, and trust me, they can transform the way you think about running out. First, embrace the idea of living with less. The next time you're about to run out of something, resist the urge to immediately replace it. See what happens when you go without it for a bit. It's a great opportunity to declutter your mind and your space. For example, if you're down to your last bottle of shower gel, could you use it and then when it's completely gone, switch to a bar of soap you already have? This simple act not only declutters your bathroom, also shifts your mindset from more to enough. If you've got loads of those toiletries that you've taken from the hotels, which is much harder to do now, but you can still take the soap, when you've run out of shower gel, why don't you use one of them? So then you use up all of that as well, because I'm sure a lot of you have got those as well. Second, challenge yourself to get creative with what you have. When you're running low on something, ask yourself, can I make do with something else? For example, if you're out of a particular cleaning product, could you use vinegar or baking soda instead? I know a lot of you have bought it because you've seen it on Instagram and TikTok to use it to clean and stuff. You could use it now to actually do the cleaning or to clear the sinks. It's really good for cleaning sinks. You'll often find that you don't need to restock right away or even at all. Or you can buy a product that's an all-in-one. I use Zoflora now, and that one bottle can clean my floor, be diluted to use as an all-purpose cleaner, and to clean the toilet. My maid loves it because she doesn't have to think about what product to use in what area, and she loves the smell as well. So we have a great time deciding on what Zoflora scent to choose. But it's just great, and it's one bottle instead of, I think we used to have 5 bottles or something. Now it's one bottle. It's amazing. Another tip I love to use is if you're running out, it's an opportunity to rethink your purchasing habits. We've all fallen victim to the temptation of a sale, buying things we don't actually need simply because they were a good deal. But when you allow yourself to run out of an item, it's a perfect time to ask yourself, do I really need this or can I live without it? I've had clients who were absolutely convinced that they needed to buy certain things in bulk, but when we sat down and looked at how much they were actually using, they realized they could easily get by with less. Running out became a way for them to reassess their needs and to stop cluttering their homes with unnecessary stockpiles. And if you're someone who does love the idea of having a backup, try limiting yourself to just one spare of each item. This way you'll have a little buffer without letting excess take over your home. And here's a final thought. Running out isn't just about physical space. It's also about creating emotional and mental space. When you free yourself from the need to constantly restock, you're also freeing up time and energy. You're not spending hours shopping for things that you don't really need, and you're not stressing about where to store everything. So the next time you find yourself running low on something, take a deep breath and pause before rushing to the store or going online. Ask yourself, what if I just let this run out? You really might be surprised by how freeing it feels. Also, if you do run out and you do need it, you could always order it and it'll come maybe the same day or the next day. So it's not the end of the world. And also, a lot of people have shops around the corner. So if you do run out, you literally could go around the shop. And I'm sure it won't take very long to do it. So think about it in that way. You don't have to buy in bulk because you can literally go to shop and buy one bottle of something. And as always, if you need help with decluttering or organizing, you know where to find me. I'd love to hear from you. So tell me what's going to run out for you this week and what you're going to let run out. Share your experiences with me on social media at DECLUTTRME, and let's start a conversation about living with less and embracing the freedom that comes with running out. Thanks for joining me today. If you've joined this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little bit of help to declutter their life. Thank you so much again. Take care, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye.